CTCAE stands for Common Terminology Criteria for Adverse Events. It is a NCI product, National Cancer Institute. If you want to find it, type it into your search engine. It will give you options to click. Click on Common Terminology Criteria for Adverse Events from the NCI, and it will open the CTAP page. That is the Cancer Therapy Evaluation Program. In there, look at version 5, Quick Guideline. And click it. It will allow you to download a document, and you can then find it in your downloads and open it. Once you open the document, you'll see this. This is the cover page of version 5. It will open in PDF. So there is the search engine, the search icon there, the magnifying glass. You click on it, it opens the field where you can type. You type in your search word. I typed fever. It will give you how many places in the document have the word fever. There were 11 here. You click on the downward arrow and it leads you through them until you find the right one. Here is the fever that I was looking for. And you see, CTCAE gives grades. How severe is an adverse event? Very important in drug development. So, my patient had 40 degrees Celsius. That's the same as 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, if this lasts for less than 24 hours, then CTCAE calls this a grade 3. It would be a grade 4 if it's longer than 24 hours, and if it leads to death, it is grade 5.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Now you know how to get to CTCAE and how to grade adverse events. If you want to learn a little more, stay on the video for a few more minutes. My name is Johannes Wolff. This is recorded in February 2025.
This is the cover, one of the first pages, not the cover page, of version 5. You see, it was created in 2017, and they organized it then under SOCS, System Organ Class, another abbreviation to memorize. The grades are from 0 to 5. An adverse event grade 0 means that adverse event was not there, it didn't happen. If there is grade 1, that means it was mild, didn't require treatment, you can stay at home. Grade 2 is when it requires treatment. 3 typically brings you in the hospital. Grade 4 brings you in the intensive care unit. And grade 5 means you died from this adverse event. Here is an example. The example is febrile neutropenia. You saw the grading for fever, but here is febrile neutropenia. This is when fever and it comes together with neutropenia. Neutropenia means neutrophils are not enough in blood. That is a very important blood type, the subtype of white blood cells, the most common one of those, and it is there to eat bacteria that make their way into blood. If you don't have enough of those cells, you may not notice that, but bacteria can easily overwhelm the body then, and therefore, when fever occurs in a patient that has neutropenia, this is an emergency because the patient can't defend against the infection, and many infections can lead to death and lead to death very fast. Therefore, my teachers told me, Dr. Wolff, in fever and neutropenia or fever in neutropenia, don't think. Give antibiotics first, think later. What they told us to do was not draw blood, look at the blood values and then define a treatment based on those values, but first give the antibiotics and then do everything thereafter. The term fever neutropenia can come in as fever and neutropenia. That's how many clinicians abbreviate it as F and N. And then if you have PhDs that don't come out of the medical field and you say F and N, then you should explain what you talk about. It could be fever in neutropenia. That's what my professors told me. The first word can be turned in an adjective, then it's febrile neutropenia. That's how CTCAE calls it. And the second word can be turned into an adjective, then it's neutropenic fever. They are all the same. And the specific rules, what to do when, other than that you have to be fast, the specific rules are hospital dependent. In particular, the question which antibiotics to use. In the context of clinical drug development, the clinical care is not that important. And vice versa, if you actually take care for patients, don't look at CTCAE and grading, treat the patient. That documentation comes all later when the emergency is over. The second example I wanted to show you is troponin. Troponin is a molecule that lives inside the myocardial cells, the heart cells, and when there is a heart attack, a myocardial infarct, ischemia in the heart, then those cells die. The molecules from inside leak out and you can find them in blood. That is when you can measure troponin elevations. There are two types, I and T, for the diagnostic purposes. The difference is irrelevant. CTCAE is older than the commercial kits, and in CTCAE you have two grades. Grade 1 means it's abnormal, the value is higher than normal, but it doesn't hurt the patient and the patient doesn't have a major problem. Grade 3 was meant to be when the value is so much higher that it indicates a myocardial infarct. Now that diagnostic is extremely important. It needs to be very fast, and it is very, very common that somebody comes with chest pain into the emergency room and they need to know what to do. So that test is really important. That calls for a commercialized test. Then you can sell it and make money with it. And that also means you have to go through an approval process. There are a number of those very high sensitive troponin tests on the market, but the process of making them commercially available also requires strict guidelines, and the cutoff level that they used so that they could get it approved is the myocardial infarct. This way, with these wonderful, sharp, sensitive tests, we don't have a grade 1 anymore, because when this thing is positive, it is grade 3. What about version 6? Well, you can find on the internet this slide, which also comes from National Cancer Institute, and there they tell you when version 6 will be released. The last slide says it, in fall 2022. I'm recording this video in February 2025. No more comments. CTCAE version 5 is what we use. It is a fantastic document, extremely important. And the document has a big sister. The big sister is called MedDRA. MedDRA has higher authority. MedDRA comes from ICH, the International Conference of Harmonization. That is an organization that you prescribe to as a nation, and as a nation, when you prescribe to it, you have to turn it into legislation. In America, the legislation that came out of this is called Code of Federal Regulation. So MedDRA has a lot more authority than CTCAE. Still is not quite as important, as at least in my mind. MedDRA is also bigger. The term system organ class that you also found in CTCAE comes from MedDRA. That is their system, how they classify all these many terms. They're organized. One of the system organ classes is hematological, another one is cardiovascular, and so on. There are 27 of them. What we really use in MedDRA are the preferred terms, and there are 25,000 of those. So a lot more than you have grades in CTCAE, which means multiple terms in MedDRA need to be documented, need to be graded under the same term. That MedDRA has its weaknesses. For instance, neutropenia, we just talked about fever neutropenia, and I showed you the grading for fever alone. There is also one for neutrophil counts decreased. Neutrophil count decreased and neutropenia is the very same thing. It's just two different words for the same medical concept. But in MedDRA, it occurs under these two terms occur under two SOCs, under two system organ classes, investigation and hematological. Can you imagine how much confusion that causes in our documentation? You can see publications in very large, very important papers where you see adverse events, 40% neutropenia, 12% neutrophil count decrease. That's lunacrit. It's the same thing. You should combine it. But that's not easy. It's not easy to do.
Thank you. This is all I wanted to say about CTCAE. I hope you learned something. There are many more of these videos. This is a YouTube channel for those that want to become drug developers in oncology. And there we have a series of explanations of acronyms. This was brought to you by Oncology Consulting Wolff LLC. The company is solely responsible for its content. Thank you for listening. We hope to see you again. Bye-bye.